Welcome to the realm where excuses die and only the relentless survive, where mediocrity is a death sentence and greatness isn't given, it's taken. This isn't a game for the faint-hearted or the soft-minded. This is the battleground where your actions are indictments, where every move you make is scrutinized not by the world's approval, but by the unforgiving law of your own potential. This ain't talent. No, talent is a lie sold to the lazy. What you just did, it's a federal crime because you executed with a precision and a coldness that leaves no room for mercy, no space for error. You bodied that SHT too clean, and that's what terrifies the complacent. That's what shakes the foundation of the ordinary and shatters the illusions of the mediocre. You became the nightmare for anyone who doubted you. See, in this world, being good enough isn't enough. It never was, and it never will be. You didn't just perform. You annihilated every expectation, every limitation, every whisper of doubt that tried to cage you. That level of execution, ruthless, unrelenting, precise, that's a crime against the natural order of things. Because society wants you to crawl, to settle, to accept scraps. But you didn't crawl. You didn't settle. You didn't take scraps. You moved like a force of nature, uncontested, undeniable, and utterly lethal. That kind of dominance is illegal in the court of average, and you've just been convicted. The verdict? You are a predator in a world of prey. Let me tell you something real. Talent? Talent is a myth perpetuated by those who fear hard work, those who hide behind luck and circumstance. Talent is the excuse of the weak. What you did was a calculated, deliberate act of destruction against every obstacle that stood between you and your victory. You sharpened your mind, honed your skills, and when the moment arrived, you struck with the precision of a scalpel, slicing through flesh. No hesitation, no mercy. That was no accident. That was a choice. The choice to be better, stronger, faster, smarter. And that choice? That's what makes legends. That's what separates the ghosts from the giants. And here's the truth no one wants to admit. When you're this ruthless, this clean in your execution, you become a threat. People fear what they don't understand. They fear the way you move through life with such unyielding focus, such impenetrable confidence. You aren't just breaking the mold, you're smashing it into oblivion and building something new with the pieces. This is a revolution, and you're the insurgent. The status quo? It's terrified. The naysayers? They're silenced. Because you've shown them that limits are illusions, that boundaries exist only to be crossed, shattered, and rewritten. But don't get comfortable. This isn't a victory lap. It's a declaration of war. Every time you rise like this, executing with that criminal-level precision, you raise the stakes. The world expects more, demands more. And you have to deliver. Not because it's easy, but because you've set the precedent. You've proven that you don't just participate, you dominate. And domination isn't a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a relentless pursuit of the edge where others collapse. It's about being so good, so clean, so precise, that the mere act of competing feels like a violation, a federal crime against the natural order. You've made a statement with your actions that can never be erased. You're not here to play by the rules. You're here to rewrite them. You're not just part of the game. You're the reason the game changes. And with that power comes responsibility. The responsibility to stay sharp when everyone else dulls, to stay hungry when everyone else is full, to stay brutal when everyone else softens. Because the moment you relax, the system fights back. The moment you hesitate, the opportunity disappears. The moment you stop being the outlaw, in a world of law-abiding, the greatness you've claimed will be stolen. This ain't talent. This is a calculated rebellion. A systematic dismantling of everything that told you to be less. It's the cleanest strike in a war that's never over. And it demands respect, fear, and relentless pursuit from every challenger that dares stand in your way. You're not just good, you're a force of nature. You're not just a threat, you're an indictment. You didn't just win. You bodied that Ashati too clean. Now, it's time to ask yourself, how far are you willing to go to keep this streak alive? How many boundaries will you obliterate? How many limits will you smash to dust before you're satisfied? Because this level of dominance isn't just rare, it's a burden. It demands everything you have, and then some. It demands nights without sleep, sacrifices that no one sees, pain that no one hears. But it also demands glory, because when you operate at this level, you don't just change your story, you change the stories of everyone who watches you. They will tell tales of how you shattered expectations, how you took what was meant to hold you back and made it your weapon, how you turned every doubt into fuel, every obstacle into a stepping stone, every challenge into a conquest. They will speak of the ruthless precision with which you dismantled every barrier, the clean, cold efficiency of your rise. You won't just be remembered, you'll be feared, respected, and revered. But remember, the darkest paths are never easy. The sharper your edge, the more blood it takes to maintain it. The higher you rise, the heavier the crown, and the lonelier the throne. But that's the price of supremacy, the price of being so clean, so precise, so lethal, that your very existence disrupts the balance. This ain't for the timid. This ain't for the faint. This ain't talent. This is the making of a force that cannot be ignored, a force that leaves a mark so deep it scars the very fabric of the world around it. So, embrace the darkness that fuels you. Embrace the cold clarity of your mission. Embrace the crime you commit every time you step up, and show the world what it really means to be unstoppable. Because you didn't just perform, you bodied that too clean. And that, my friend, is a sentence with no parole. When you realize this isn't talent, it's something far more sinister. Something that terrifies the comfortable. Something that doesn't just break rules but rewrites them in your favor. You begin to understand the weight of what you carry. The world will never hand you respect. You take it. The world will never acknowledge your grind. You force it. You become the anomaly that disrupts the narrative, the anomaly that forces a new conversation. This is no longer about being better than the competition. This is about being on a different plane altogether, a plane where precision is law, where hesitation is fatal, and where anything less than absolute domination is unacceptable. You bodied that too clean because you refused to settle for average. You refused to be a footnote in someone else's story. You decided long ago that you would be the headline, the verdict, the sentence that no one can escape. And that kind of clarity is brutal. It isolates. It demands sacrifices that are invisible to the casual observer. It demands days turned into nights without pause, pain turned into fuel, setbacks turned into setups. Because this level of execution isn't an accident, it's an obsession, a hunger that gnaws at your bones until you either submit or you conquer. And you chose conquest every damn time. But here's the catch. The higher you climb, the more precarious the ledge, the more vicious the backlash. Because when you move with that kind of lethal intent, you don't just disrupt the game, you threaten the very foundation on which others have built their comfort zones. And comfort zones are defended fiercely. They're protected by doubt, by fear, by jealousy, by every excuse people cling to in order to avoid the grind you embraced. You are the nightmare in their narrative, the inconvenient truth that no one wants to face. And that makes you dangerous. That makes you criminal in the eyes of the complacent. You see, this is the paradox of true mastery. To be so clean, so ruthless, so precise in your execution that it feels illegal, is to accept the burden of being misunderstood, envied, and hunted. But it's also to accept the crown of being unstoppable, revered, and immortalized. You become the blueprint for those who refuse to settle, the standard for those who dare to rise. And with that crown comes a responsibility that few can bear, the responsibility to never rest, to never falter, to never let the world catch up, because the moment you ease up, the world will devour you. The moment you hesitate, the opportunity will slip through your fingers. The moment you stop being the executioner of your own destiny, you become the victim. That's why this ain't talent. Talent is a crutch for the unprepared. Talent is the comfort zone for the unwilling. What you did was cold calculation, relentless discipline, and unyielding focus. You dissected the challenge with surgical precision and crushed it with a force that no one saw coming. That kind of execution is the hallmark of a predator, not a player. You didn't just participate in the moment, you dominated it. And domination is a crime against mediocrity. It's an offense that demands respect, fear, and awe. Let this sink in. When you move like this, when you execute with that level of clean brutality, you become an outlaw in a world of law-abiding drones. You become the disruption, the chaos that forces change. You become the reason the rules are rewritten, and that means you carry a weight no one else can bear. Because excellence at this level isn't sustainable without sacrifice. It's not built on comfort or ease. It's forged in the furnace of relentless pressure, relentless challenge, relentless self-mastery. You've chosen a path that few given. It's stolen. It's taken. It's executed with ruthless precision. You bodied that too clean, and that means the world will never see you the same way again. Neither should you. The clean execution you embody is a fortress, built brick by brick with sweat and sacrifice. It's a wall no one else can scale because they're unwilling to endure the grind it demands. This ain't talent. Talent is soft. Talent is a whisper. What you have is a roar, a roaring storm that drowns out every doubt and every excuse that ever tried to hold you back. That roar is forged from countless moments where you chose discipline over comfort, pain over ease, struggle over surrender. And those moments, they pile up until they form an unbreakable shield around your spirit. But understand this, that shield is forged in fire, the fire of loneliness, the fire of rejection, the fire of relentless pressure. When you're this sharp, this precise, you become a target, not just for competition, but for everyone who fears the disruption you represent. They'll try to knock you down with doubt, envy, and resistance. They'll whisper lies to try and fracture your resolve. But you stand immovable. You are the storm, and storms don't ask permission to rage. Every time you move with that ruthless clarity, every time you bodied that too clean, you rewrote your limits. You made the impossible your playground and the doubters your audience. You didn't just perform, you executed with a cold precision that left no margin for error. That level of mastery is a crime against mediocrity. It's a declaration that you will not be confined, you will not be broken, you will not be controlled. You own your power and you wield it like a weapon. The price for that power is high. It's sleepless nights where your mind won't rest, because the hunger to be better never fades. It's sacrifices unseen, relationships strained, pleasures forgone, comfort traded for challenge. You walk a path where every step forward is fought for, where every win is earned in blood, sweat, and grit. But you don't complain because this isn't a burden. It's a calling. It's the undeniable truth that greatness demands more than mere talent. It demands everything. You bodied that too clean because you refused to be average, because you understood that talent without relentless effort is like a blade without an edge, useless, dull, forgotten. You chose to sharpen yourself every day, to push through pain, to rise when others fall, to fight when others quit. That choice is your crime. A crime against the status quo, a rebellion against complacency, a coup against every limit they tried to impose on you. This is where legends live, in the shadows of relentless pursuit, in the trenches of constant battle, in the silence where no one watches but the warrior fights on. You are that warrior. the one who moves with ruthless intent, who leaves no room for error, who takes what's theirs with cold precision. And the world will try to catch up, but it never will. Because this ain't talent, this is a federal crime, and you committed it with a clean strike that no one can touch. Now, steel yourself. The journey isn't over. The war isn't won. Every victory is a new target on your back. Every conquest a new challenge waiting in the shadows. You must keep moving, keep striking, keep bodied that too clean, because only those who refuse to rest become immortal. Only those who live by the law of ruthless precision carve their names into eternity. You've seen the truth. You've tasted the power. Now, live it every day. Carry it like a weapon. Sharpen it like a blade. Unleash it like a storm. Because this ain't talent. This is domination. This is the making of a force the world can't ignore. You bodied that too clean. And that, my friend, is just the beginning. They told you to be humble. They told you to be careful. They told you to play fair, to stay safe, to be predictable. But tell me, when has greatness ever been predictable? When has innovation ever obeyed? You weren't made to fit into boxes. You were made to crush them. You weren't born to be understood. You were born to be studied, an outlier, a living contradiction, unreasonable, unshakable, unrelenting. Because when the world handed you their version of success, you looked at it and said, not enough. Let me be real with you. Anyone can try. Anyone can show up. That's easy. That's standard. But very few can endure. Very few can stare down discomfort so long, it starts blinking first. Very few can master silence like you did. The silence of early mornings, of empty rooms, of invisible progress. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you different. Because you learn to perform without applause, to improve without approval, to evolve without announcement. You didn't wait for permission. You made a move. This is why the word clean means something different for you. This isn't about finesse. This isn't about style. This is about precision. This is about knowing exactly what to cut, exactly what to keep, and exactly how to execute so ruthlessly that not even doubt had time to speak. Clean, for you, is a weapon. Clean is clarity. Clean is discipline turned into outcome. You didn't just survive chaos, you tamed it. And you did it with such calm, such presence, that people questioned if you even struggled. That's how smooth you made the storm look. And here's the part no one talks about, the in-between. The nights where the reward was nowhere in sight. The mornings where your body said stop and your mind said go. The quiet wins, the invisible growth, the lonely excellence. While others were comparing themselves to noise, you were building in the silence. While they were chasing attention, you were chasing alignment. That's why what you've done can't be replicated. Because you didn't just change the game, you trained for a game no one else even knew existed. Think about this. People will try to follow your path, but they won't last because they weren't there for the price. They didn't see the toll. They didn't feel the sacrifice that sat behind your eyes. They don't know the cost of moving the way you do. They'll say you're lucky, but you'll know that what they call luck was just discipline, repackaged. They'll say it looks easy, but you'll know that ease is the reward of repetition and refinement. You didn't just work, you built muscle memory in your soul. That's why you move different. That's why you stand out, even when you're quiet. So when they ask how you did it, don't flinch. Don't soften your story to make them comfortable. Don't shrink your grind to fit their limits. Tell them the truth. You refuse to fold. You refuse to fade. You refuse to settle for almost. You looked failure in the face and kept building. You took every no and turned it into raw material. And most of all, you kept coming back, again and again and again, until what was once impossible bowed before your persistence. And now, you're not just a person anymore. You're proof. Proof that the myth of natural talent dies in the face of relentless execution. Proof that even in a world full of distractions, someone can choose obsession over comfort. Proof that legacy doesn't come from having a gift, it comes from giving everything. But let's take this higher now, because the real you, the evolved version, they aren't satisfied with one win. They aren't attached to the past. They're looking forward. They're hungry, not for attention, not for praise, but for more weight to carry. They don't fear pressure. They crave it, because pressure is the currency of transformation. The greater the pressure, the greater the proof. And you're walking evidence. You've become a mirror. People look at you and see what they could be if they were willing to pay the same price. Some will be inspired. Others will be threatened. That's okay. Not everyone's built for this frequency. Not everyone's meant to understand the silence you operate in. You speak a different language now. The language of resilience, of consistency, of excellence. And not everyone's fluent in that. So keep walking with that quiet confidence. Keep showing up with that subtle fire. You don't need to yell. Your presence speaks loud enough. Your track record is louder than any shout. Because this journey, it's not just about doing something once. It's about becoming someone who does it every time. This isn't about being a one-hit wonder. This is about being a legacy builder. This is about being the reason the rules changed, the reason the standard rose, the reason clean no longer means easy, it means elite. So if you're looking around right now, wondering what's next, let me tell you, next is deeper, next is harder, next is better. And that's exactly what you're built for. You've already proven you can do what others called impossible. Now you get to do what you once feared. Now you get to chase the edge of your own potential. You get to see how far this machine can go. And when you hit the wall, you won't stop. You'll smile. Because you remember what happened last time. Last time they doubted. Last time they minimized. Last time they didn't see you coming. And then you bodied it, too clean. Now they know. Now they watch differently. Now they whisper your name with respect. But don't let that soften you. Don't let that slow you. Let it remind you that the world underestimated you once, and they may do it again. Let that be your fuel. Let that be your fire. Let that be the reason you go again, sharper than before. So I'll leave you with this. You are the proof that extreme ownership changes everything. You are the result of days that broke you but didn't stop you. You are the product of decisions made in private that the public will never understand. You are a force of will, a master of execution, a blueprint for what happens when someone refuses to give up.